So you're going to have 2 examples of multiplying decimals in your journal, because your journal's on your desk right now. In your table of contents, you've already written multiplying decimals. Right, Molly? You don't have your journal open, do you? So your table of contents, you didn't write that? And then I'm going to do 2 examples. You're going to write them down, follow along, listen. Then I'm going to put 2 examples up there for you to do on your own. On your own. So you'll have these examples in your journal for when we have an assignment over multiplying decimals. We're using the standard algorithm today. That means just with the numbers. We're not drawing pictures. We're not doing any of that other stuff that we do. We're just learning this is how you do it. So I am going to do 7/10 multiplied by 2 and 51/100ths. Seven tenths multiplied by 2 and 51/100ths. Why is that back table having a very different... That's going in the trash if it's going to keep distracting you. See, then what'll happen is, then I'll be like, I had to call these kids names, Molly Jaden. And then I'll have to email it to Molly and Jaden's parents, and they'll be like, what? They had to call your name on the video? Because you weren't paying attention? Then they'll be sad. Then they'll be sad. All right, so first thing we're going to do when we multiply decimals, we are going to estimate. Estimating is very important. It's going to help you figure out where your decimal point goes, in case you forget. We're multiplying 2 and 51/100ths by something less than 1, which means my answer is going to get smaller. My answer needs to be less than this factor. My answer needs to be less than that factor. So that's going to help me out when I'm placing my digits, my decimal in my digits. After you estimate, you with me, Ethan? After you estimate, you're going to rewrite the problem. We're going to ignore the decimal points. We're going to pretend like they're not even there. So I have 251 times 7. I don't have to put that 0 in the front because that's just going to give me 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, or whatever, or however, whomever, or whenever, or wherever. All right, so now I'm just multiplying like normal. I don't have any decimal points in there when I multiply. Just multiplying like normal. So I go 7 times 1, which is?
7.
7 times 5, which is?
35.
7 times 2, which is?
14.
Plus 3?
17.
Okay, now I have my product of this. My next step is I go back to my original problem and I count how many digits are behind the decimal point in the original problem. The 5, the 1, and the 7 are how many decimal points that are behind the decimal in the original problem. So that's 3. There needs to be 3 behind it in the answer. Does this meet with our guesstimate, our estimate?
Yes.
Yes, because this is less than 2 and 51/100ths. So we use that as our estimate, and it helps us out. Let's do 2 and 4/10 multiplied by 8 and 35/100ths. First thing I'm doing is I'm going to get a general estimate. I'm not getting an estimate that's within 1 or 2. I just want my estimate, the purpose of it is to help me when I'm placing my decimal point. So if I just do front end, and I just look in front of the decimal point, the whole numbers. If I just multiply the whole numbers, I have 2 times 8, which gives me 16. So my decimal needs to be around, or my answer, around 16. That helps me. I'm not going to get an answer of 197. I'm going to get an answer of around 16. It's going to be more than 16 because this is more than 2 and this is more than 8. So it'll be more than 16, but it's not going to be 7,289 and 4/10. Now, step 2, and you did glue this in your journal because it is right here, which you glued in your journal. You have this in your journal. It's on the back of this page. It's also written in your or glued in your journal. So you have the steps. Multiply as usual, ignoring the decimals. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to multiply this as usual. I'm going to rewrite it, ignoring my decimal points. So I have 835 multiplied by 24. 835 multiplied by 24. So what I'm doing here is I have 4 ones, and I'm multiplying that by 835. So 4 times 5 is what, class? 20. 4 times 3 is what, class?
12.
Plus 2?
14.
14. 4 times 8 is what, class?
32.
32 plus 1?
33.
So I multiplied 4 times 835 and got 3,340. Now, this 2 is in the tens place, which means I need to start my numbers in the tens place. So how much is 2 tens?
10?
Yeah, 20. So what I'm doing here is I'm multiplying 20 times 835. That's exactly what I'm doing, is multiplying 20 times 835. So if you get stuck and you look at this and you go, oh my goodness, this is so difficult when you have to do it like this, break it apart. 4 times 835, 20 times 835. So done with that. 4 times 5, or 2 times 5? 10, 0, carry my 1. 2 times 3, plus 1. 2 times 8, 16. Find the sum of these two products. I go back at my problem and I look how many numbers are behind the decimal point. 1, 2, 3. Needs to be 3 behind it in my product. This, when I multiply 20 times 835, is here, 16,700. And if I added those two together here, like I added them together there, is 20 near our estimate?
Yes.
Yeah. See, that helps us with our decimal point. If we thought, oh, the decimal point should go here, then you'd got 240 hundredths, and you go, well, that's not near my estimate. Or you put it here, and you got 2 and 4 hundredths, and you'd be like, no, that's not near my estimate. So that's why we estimate. That's one reason why we estimate. Let me give you 2 problems to try.
Yay!
And then I'll give you 5 minutes and we'll go over them.
Yay!
6 and 8/10 times 4 and 100th. And the other one is 5 and 7/10 times 13 and 4/10. So do those 2, and we'll go over them in about 5 minutes. Yes, Mia. Just one moment, Mia. Let's go ahead and go over these. Some of the insane things I'm seeing are making me insane. So stop making me insane. I don't want to be insane. So please stop making me insane. Being insane is not fun. Being insane is difficult. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to estimate. If I went 6 times 4, my answer's 24. This is kind of close to 7. So if I went 7 times 4, it'd be 28. So my answer needs to be somewhere between 24 and 28. Somewhere near 24 and 28. Not less than 24. Not less than 24. That's step 1 is my estimate. Step 2 says, rewrite this problem without the decimal points. So that's 401 times 68. I have no earthly idea, but some of you had made this 680. That's not what that number is. It's 68. It's 68. If I'm writing things ignoring the decimal point, I just take that decimal point out, it doesn't get 100 times bigger. So I'm going to multiply 401 times 8. I'm going to multiply 401 times 60. So let's take my 8 first. Class, 8 times 1?
8.
8 times 0?
0.
8 times 4?
32.
Now I'm starting... What?
Oh, never mind.
What? Now I'm multiplying by 60 because my 6 is in the tens place. So I need to have a 0 so that I start in the tens place. 6 times 1?
6.
6 times 0?
0.
6 times 4?
24.
I find the sum of these two products. 8, 6, 2, 7, 2. Then I go back and I figure out how many numbers are behind the decimal point in the problem. 1, 2, 3. That needs to be how many are behind in the answer. So as long as I did my math correctly, and I don't always, so please watch. 27 and 268 thousandths. 27 and 268 thousandths. That fits with our episode. Our episode. Why did I say episode? That doesn't even make any sense. That fits with our estimate. That's between 24 and 28. Questions on that one?
No, sir. No questions.
Our second one here, we have 5 and 7 tenths multiplied by 13 and 4 tenths. My estimate, if I just multiply 5 by 13, my estimate's 65. So it needs to be somewhere around 65. It's going to be more because this is more than 5 and this is more than 13. And to get my estimate, I just multiplied 5 times 13. But it's not going to be 730. I rewrite it without the decimal points. I don't change the number. I don't add any digits anywhere. Yes.
What's the neighborhood like?
I don't know.
If your estimate, say your estimate was like 65 and you got like 75, was that?
That's fine. It's basically to help us figure out where we're putting the decimal point. It helps us to make sure that we don't got a crazy decimal point somewhere. 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 3 is 21 plus 2 is 23. Please follow and check with me. 7 times 1 is 7 plus 2 is 9. Speak up if I make a mistake. 0. 5 times 4 is 20. Carry my 2. 5 times 3 is 15 plus 2 is 17. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 1 is 6. 8, 3, 16. Go back here. There's 2 numbers behind my decimal point here. There needs to be 2 numbers behind my decimal point there.
Yeah, because that's
76 and 38 hundredths.
wrong.
But we know it's going to be bigger than our estimate because 5.7 is close to 6. So 6 times 13 would be 78. Yes.
Because I got 76 and 3800, so I was just wondering if it was like.
Yeah. Well, on these, I'm not really rounding them. I'm just looking at in front of the decimal point because it's easier, and that just gives me an idea. It's not going to be exact. It just gives me an idea. And as long as we do our multiplication right, and we can check it by doing it again.
I got 13 and 908 and 38.
I don't know how. Like anybody could figure that out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, put your journals away. Be kind to one another. Love y'all.